Did you guys know that we have a website? Did you also know that we publish a ton of reviews on there that don't get made into videos? Well, we do. We have a dedicated team of writers who review all the games that me, Juan and James don't. And since you guys have been saying that you wish we could cover more, here's a nice roundup of the most recent games that those guys have been reviewing. A quick summary and a score of their opinions about the games from the last couple of weeks or so. Remember, if you want their full thoughts, then be sure to head over to the website switchwatch.co.uk. After watching this video, let us know if it's something that you'd like to see more often. We're thinking about once every fortnight. We'd appreciate your feedback on this one. Anyways, let's get on with it. Starting out with one of the most up-to-date releases, Keith took up the mantle to review The Liar Princess and the Blind Prince from NIS America. This puzzle platformer gave a twinkle in his eye as he praised the beautiful art style, the fairy tale-like story, and the fact that it had a level skip feature which surprised him at how it invited people to see the whole game. He did criticise the length though, about 4 hours or so, and the $20 price tag has been a bit too ambitious, as well as the lack of replayability. But for what the experience gave, he gave it a high 9 out of 10. For Blazblue Central Fiction, we decided to call in the expert for our review. Becky was well versed with the series, and she praised the crazy story, the vast amount of game modes, the silky smooth fighting gameplay, as well as the awesome soundtrack. While she did have plenty of praise, there were some minor criticisms for the fact that there was no English dub and difficulty spikes when it came to boss battles. Still, she loved this one enough to put over 200 hours into it, including its previous releases, and she awarded this one a 9 out of 10. A must for hardcore fighting fans. Keith thought that Riot Civil Unrest was a bit of a mixed bag in his recent review. He felt the idea behind the game was fantastic and educational in showing what happened during various riots around the world. Despite that, he felt the gameplay was lacking in depth for a real-time strategy game. He did say it was priced perfectly at £15 though, and he gave it a very nice 7.5 out of 10. Monkey Wall was reviewed by our man Lee, and this cheap, cheerful indie game gave him an enjoyable experience. He enjoyed the pick up and play nature of this weird, endless runner of a monkey running through holes in a wall. It's played exclusively in handheld mode thanks to the need for a touchscreen. He found it addictive, but the lack of online leaderboards was a small sour note. For $5, he was pleased with this small little indie game and gave it a 7.5 out of 10. FutureGrind was reviewed by none other than Johnny, who you may have seen in his recent contributions to our video output in Wargroove and Achtung Tactics. FutureGrind wasn't an easy one to describe, as a bike that rail grinds between two set colours that match either of your wheels. You platform your way along them, increasing your score multiplier. He found it very addictive and the gameplay rewarding. He did think it was a tad on the expensive side though, at $20 and £15.29 however. Still an 8 out of 10 that was recommended to those who loved games such as Tony Hawk's, squeezing every last trick possible to earn the highest score. Lee was on duty to review the weird Nippon Marathon. This racing running game pleased him thanks to its chaotic multiplayer madness. He really enjoyed some of the modes available here that heavily reminded him of Takeshi's Castle. That statement alone got me on board. He did criticise the lack of online however, as well as some minor gameplay annoyances. He gave it a 7.5 out of 10. SmuggleCraft was reviewed by Keith, and he praised the ambition of this Kickstarter title. If you know Keith, you'll know that he does love a good Kickstarter. While originally unimpressed by the low poly art style, it did grow on him during his playtime of this different take on the racing genre. He enjoyed the simple customization of your hovercraft but lamented an air of repetitiveness. Still, a track editor, affordable price, and an excellent soundtrack boosted this to an 8 out of 10. If I'm considered to be the machine of the YouTube side of SwitchWatch, then Keith is certainly the machine of the website. Once again, he stepped up to review The Office Quest, a point-and-click adventure game from 11 Sheep. While he didn't think it was a bad game per se, he thought it was pretty average thanks to its short runtime, poor value, and fairly standard gameplay. He gave this one a 5.5 out of 10. Nothing can stop that man Keith. He really enjoyed Horizon Shift 81 and its nostalgic approach to its gameplay. He thought that if this had been made in the 80s, then no one would have known any different today. It's just made that well with classic arcade sensibilities. Fun and simple to play, that's really what you want from an arcade game, right? Plus it's cheap at $10. He awarded this one an 8.5 out of 10. From Rising Star Games, Holy Potatoes Where in Space was reviewed by Johnny, and he enjoyed the humour on offer in this light-hearted strategy sim. It had engaging multi-layered gameplay that made him curious about its predecessor, A Weapon Shop, as well as any future sequels, although as can be the case with these type of games, it could get repetitive at times. Still a nice 8 out of 10 from Johnny. At Sundown, Shots in the Dark was reviewed by Lee, and he pretty much enjoyed this fun online shooter. It had interesting hide and seek mechanics as well as a wealth of online content for the price. He did however not like the fact that single player was pretty much non-existent aside from playing against bots and earning medals in training. He gave this one a good 7.5 out of 10. Taking inspiration from tabletop RPGs, Keith found Thea the Awakening just too rough around the edges to enjoy. He thought the hand-drawn artwork was lovely, but the gameplay highly unbalanced and far too reliant on luck rather than skill. There aren't too many games similar to Civilization currently on the Switch, but even so, Keith thought that you should probably give this one a miss. He graded it a bang average 5 out of 10. Johnny stood up to review Away Journey to the Unexpected, a game he said indie enthusiasts would probably enjoy despite it being rough around the edges, but excusable thanks to it being developed by just 2 people. He really enjoyed the 2D cel-shaded sprites, which he thought were the best part of this roguelike first-person adventure, although the developers preferred to call it a feel-good FPS, a solid 7 out of 10. Keith said that Halcyon 6 Starbase Commando was a pleasant blend of turn-based RPG with sim management aspects. He did feel the RPG side was far more fleshed out than the simplified sim management part, but he still enjoyed it thanks to its solid gameplay and good soundtrack. A very nice 8 out of 10 from Keith. As a bonus entry, we want to tell you about The Missing. Alex reviewed this, and although it's well out of the boundaries for this episode, we just had to include it because he's just so enthusiastic about it. He thought of this as a modern masterpiece with a hard-hitting story, charming visuals and some cool concepts. He thought of this as his game of the year 2018, and although he didn't want to oversell his love for it, he was confident that if you enjoy a platformer and don't mind a bit of horror in there with a thought-provoking story, then you should really give The Missing a shot. He gave it a 9 out of 10, and for Alex, that's massive. We hope you guys enjoyed this roundup review from our website. Let us know what you think and if you'd like to see more of it. Of course, this is also to remind you about the website, which is well worth a look. We have a very dedicated team of writers who all started out as viewers like yourselves. I've been Jordan from SwitchWatch, and this has been a roundup.